The 2022 NFL Draft is just around the corner, and we here at Vikings Now are going to keep you covered with all the draft rumors and, of course, breakdown of each and every single player the Vikings take this year. If you want that, you've come to the right spot. Hit that big red button and subscribe for free right now. Tom Downey here for Chat Sports on Minnesota Vikings Now. We are taking a look today at an updated Minnesota Vikings draft targets. Of course, round one is the focal point here. The Vikings' needs are really not that severe. Corner is a big one. Even Patrick Peterson thinks they'll go corner early. Beyond that, offensive guard kind of dwindling. You added Chris Reed too. Tight end, maybe a replacement or insurance for Irv Smith. You want to go high-end QB, maybe a defensive lineman, safety. What I'm saying is this. The Vikings are in position to pretty much take the best player available that fits their new scheme on offense and defense at each point in the 2022 NFL Draft. So I want you guys right now to name a player who you think the Vikings should draft. I've got a list that we'll get to here in a little bit of top targets that I think makes sense and will be there for the organization. But I want to hear from you guys, too. Let me know in the comments section. First up, the man I think is the most likely draft pick for Minnesota. Of course, I say likely, not guaranteed. That is how the draft goes. Stingley's traits are elite. If he hits, we're talking about a top 5 corner in the NFL, and his freshman year was so good. He'd be a great fit, I believe, in Minnesota. He has not played, however, for much of the past 2 years. Injuries and questions about just how hurt he actually was. But the upside, how can you not do it? Stingley as a freshman in the SEC, as an 18, 19-year-old, 6 interceptions, 16 pass breakups, and allowed less than 40% completion rate. That is obscene production. That came in 15 games. The issue here is that in the last 10 games he's played of both his sophomore and junior year, well, the interceptions have dried up. The pass breakups have too, although, to be fair, teams realized, shit, maybe we shouldn't throw it to Stingley. I think, though, that for Minnesota and Stingley, this is a really good fit. And fit matters so much more than we want to believe about prospects. We think, well, the talent will shine through no matter what, even though a bad team can destroy a good prospect just because they're incompetent in the end. The negative knocks I've heard on Stingley are that he's not really an alpha and that he could use a big brother. Well, there's no better big brother for Derek Stingley than Patrick Peterson. That is why I think the fit is so strong. Plus, I think the scheme is a good one for him, although he could do any scheme you ask him to. So what do you guys think? You're on the clock. You're the GM of the Minnesota Vikings, and Derek Stingley is on the board. Sauce Gardner's not, as we'll get into, by the way. Should the Vikings take Stingley? Why for yes and for no? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So if that ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know what you think. Why for yes to take Stingley and for no? Another top corner option here, that is Trent McDuffie. We'll get to Sauce Gardner later on, but McDuffie for me is the other of the big 3 corners on my board. Sticky is the way I would describe McDuffie. He did not allow much separation. He was consistently on his man in a good way. There were not a ton of interceptions for McDuffie at his collegiate career. That is a red flag, although he wasn't targeted all that much. The biggest knock against McDuffie are the short arms. And there will be teams, fair or not, probably leaning towards not fair, that ding him because of that. Teams like players who are long and fast and quick, etc. So these short arms, McDuffie checked at the combine, by the way, at 5'11" and change, 193, but his arm length was rather middling. It was more of a nickel corner there. It's going to hurt his stock. I like him, though. He has a first-round grade for me. I think he's going to be best as a zone corner, but he's an outside guy at Washington. I think he can hold up there. I think he's sticky enough to hold up in man. I think he's going to be maximized in zone coverage. His numbers this year was targeted 36 times, allowed just 16 completions. That's sub 45% for a whopping 111 yards. So yes, McDuffie has small arms, but the film says he's awesome. He's a really good football player. Played a lot of zone at Washington. I think he's got the traits to be sticky in man, but not really press man because of those length concerns there. I think he's a good athlete. He's twitched up. Jair Alexander vibes I get from him, which maybe he's not as good. Probably asking for too much, but he'd be a strong pick if Stingley's gone or if you don't trust the off-the-field medical stuff for Derek Stingley. Let's go to Andrew Booth now, the Clemson corner. Now, Booth has the traits that teams covet. He's got long arms. He's got good size. He's got a good ball skills as well. For me, though, he hasn't quite put it all together. He's not consistent. He's not fluid and smooth the same way a McDuffie or a Stingley is. There wasn't a ton of man reps, although his traits and production should fit pretty well in that style. He's a bad tackler, 11 missed tackles. There's a pretty big red flag there. Getting out of breaks is his issue. He seems to be better when facing the ball. That's fairly common for young corners. Again, I'm thinking cover 3 type of guy here. My player comp, C.J. Henderson, also traits-based guy who was bad at tackling. A little high in the completion percentage this past year for Booth at Clemson, but teams kind of stopped targeting him. Only 47 targets this year. 2 touchdowns, 5 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. That's pretty good in the end. For me, I think Booth would be a reach. I think he is not a top 4 corner for me. I'm a big Kaiir Elam fan, so I would not take him at 15. But if the cornerback, there's a run on corners, really want one, could be a name to keep an eye out for. Or maybe they like him more than I do. The dream pick is Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati. He's gone. He ain't going to make it to you. I would be shocked if Gardner got out of the top 10, answered the questions about his speed, his top-end speed of the combine. Maybe not the shiftiest guy. That's not going to be the case when you're as tall and long as Gardner is. But he's not going to be there. I think the Giants or Jets or somebody will snatch him up well before the Vikings are on the clock. So I love him. Not going to get my hopes up, though. Now, this is why you subscribe for Vikings draft coverage. We'll break down the picks, the things that happen, the trades. We got you guys covered. We'll do draft grades for Minnesota as well. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe. It's youtube.com/Vikings today. Some other names to watch out for. If they don't go corner, I wonder if defensive tackle is the route that they go. And as Minnesota adopts a true 3-4 scheme, Jordan Davis, the freak athlete in the best way possible, could be a pick. And I would go corner, then revisit defensive line later. But he's a first-round grade for me because, I mean, you don't find players who are 341 and run like they're almost 241. It's insane what Davis did there. Best run stopper. Got some conditioning concerns there. Part-time player at Georgia. Pass rush not there, but the upside is immense. I've seen Jermaine Johnson linked to Minnesota, and I don't think they'd take an edge rusher after adding Zadarius Smith. Kind of reminds me of Tank Lawrence. I think he'd be a good scheme fit for what Minnesota wants to do. Good edge setter. If you're not going to have Danielle Hunter around long term, which you should, I think they will, maybe edge is a sleeper pick in round 1. And my actually favorite prospect this year, that is Kyle Hamilton, the safety from Notre Dame. If he gets to Minnesota, which would be a surprise, I would jump all over this pick. Pair him with Harrison Smith and profit. Hamilton, the people are like, oh, he ran slow. I mean, not for his size at all. He's actually a fantastic athlete for his size, even with the not quite ideal 40-yard dash. Wasn't as great as hoped, but he's a special player. Like, there's no doubt about that for Hamilton. I think if you get him at your round 1 pick, you're getting arguably the best player in the draft, and he's got great ball skills and everything you want on film. Don't overthink him. He's special. The dark horse pick, by the way, could come at wide receiver. Not really a big-time need, but Justin Jefferson's due to get paid. Are they going to keep Adam Thielen around as well? I certainly would, but if you want to throw it a little bit more frequently, there's a chance that receiver is the best player independent of need on your board. 5 names to watch, the 5 first-round options. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. Olave's fast and a fluid route runner. Wilson's fast, too, with elite body control. It's incredible the things he's able to do and brings you more after catch than Olave does, why he's better. Drake London is a bigger-bodied threat if you want to add some size out there. Think Mike Williams style there. The good one for the Chargers, not the former USC bust. Treylon Bruks is kind of a supersized slot, at least he was that at Arkansas, but could play maybe some outside as he develops and grows into being a fully functioning wide receiver. I got separation concerns, though, with him. And Jameson Williams is the fastest player in this year's draft. I think he would have run the fastest 40-yard dash. Home run threat brings you juice if you trust the medical injury there. So what do you think? is the Vikings' biggest need in the NFL draft? I'm going corner. That's why a lot of my targets focused on the cornerback spot. But let me know. Vikings' biggest draft need.